Hey everyone, this is Steve from PublishPress. Now, PublishPress Future is a plugin which allows you to schedule changes to your WordPress content. When something happens, you can then make automatic changes, either immediately or later. And one customer was asking us questions about the Events Calendar plugin. They wanted things to happen based on events on their site. For example, they have an event with an end date, and when the event ended, they wanted to automatically add a particular category. In this case, it was called expired event. Now, there are tons of ways in which you can set up changes to your site using these two plugins, PublishPress Future and the Events Calendar, but we're going to use this as a simple example to help you get started and understand what's possible. So we have a WordPress site here with the Events Calendar installed and also PublishPress Future as well. We're using the Pro version of the plugin for this example. So I'm going to start this process by clicking Add New Workflow. And the trigger for this, which is going to start the whole process, is going to be when the post is published, because this is when the information, the event date, is going to be stored in the database. So this is when PublishPress Future first understands there's a new event with a new end date. So the first option, the trigger, is going to be post is published. And in the right column, we can choose the post type, which is going to be events. The next step is going to be the schedule option. This is going to give you a few choices. For example, in the right sidebar, you could run this as soon as possible. As soon as the event is published, this next thing could happen. But that's not what we want. We want it to be based on the end date of the event. So what we need to choose is on a specific date. And it could be a date that is manually selected on a particular PublishPress Future calendar. But what we need is a custom date source. We need to dig into WordPress and find where the events calendar is storing the end date. Now, this bit of the tutorial is going to require a little bit of technical knowledge. We need to find what table and what row in the database contains the end date for the event. We're going to look in the post meta table. That's where the event calendar stores almost all its information. And this is all going to be pretty human readable. For example, you have rows such as show map or event start date or event end date. And that's what we need. Event end date contains the end date for the event and is going to trigger our workflow. So back on the workflow screen, we're going to go to this custom date source option here. I'm going to click on this icon. I'm going to choose post after update. This is referring to when the post was published. So we're trying to find the event date after the post was published. And we're going to go to the metadata option down here and enter the metadata key for the end date. I'll click on Insert, and now this schedule is running from the end date of my event. And now the final thing to do is to decide what I want to happen. And the original customer request was to add extra terms to the post. In the right sidebar, I'm going to choose Event Categories, and I'm going to choose Expired Event. So one more time, I'll walk you through that. When the post is published, we're going to start the workflow. We're going to tell PublishPress Future that it needs to look out for anything that's new in the events post type. And then we're going to ask it to think about the schedule. When is the next thing going to happen? And it's going to happen according to a custom date source, which is the end date of our event. Once we have the date and time confirmed for when this is going to happen, we just need to know what's going to happen And what's going to happen is we're going to add extra terms to the post. I'm going to give this a name. This is going to be called Add Terms to Expired Events. And I'm going to publish this. And you don't have to wait for an event to go past the end date. You can give this a test right now. So I'm going to go to the events calendar. I'm going to add a new event. And I'm going to set a start date and also an end date there. At the moment, the event categories are empty. This is not selected. So I'm going to hit on publish. And I've selected a date that is several weeks in the future. So what I'm going to do is go to future and action workflows. And I'm going to see if this is correctly set up to run in the future. I'm going to go to the scheduled actions area at the top. And here we have a workflow that's ready to go. The workflow is called Add Terms to Expired Events. That's the name we gave it. The trigger post is published. This is the name of the event I created. And the next step is to add extra terms to the post. This is due to happen on March 7th. That is the end date that I selected, so that's correct as well. The only thing we need to do now in this test run is to click on this run button to process the action now. That will be the final step to confirm that this is working. I will run this test case. I'll go to events, and hopefully under event categories, we now have the expired event added. Now, there's a ton of extra things that we could do based on this. For example, we could add an email step as well. So once the extra term is added, you could then decide to send an email. You could enter information about the expired event. You could let people know, okay, time to unpublish this from the site or do whatever else is needed. There really are a lot of possibilities based on the data you have in the events calendar. You can set all sorts of triggers to happen based on the event end date, the start date, based on all sorts of configuration changes in the events calendar. There really is deep integration between these two plugins. So if you use the events calendar and you want things to happen automatically based on changes in your events, then check out the Publish Press Future plugin. The Pro version of this gives you access to all these metadata and schedule features. It really is the best way to schedule changes to your WordPress content.